Boring. Seen it. Derivative. Oh, this I like. After living together in the previous arc, the team are closer than ever, but this doesn't mean that things are going to be easy from here on out. The Kaiju arc is the prelude to the largest plotline in Dandadan and sets off so many character arcs that still define the series even today. The flaws in the team dynamic, a host of new characters, and the biggest threat yet are all set up in this arc. We also see the struggles that Okarun and Momo have to overcome as they settle into their will they won't they kind of relationship. As Momo starts to discover the limits of her ability to reach out to Okarun, he too must come face to face with his last hurdle, his final test in his love for her. And guys, this is obviously going to be filled with spoilers for Dandadan, so you've been warned, and let's just jump into it. The house is rebuilt. After the damage by the evil eye in the last arc, the house was left in rubble. After giving everything to protect the kids from the harsh reality of the world, Saiko finally let them give back. By working together, they fixed the house completely, just like new, using the nanoskin, a material capable of morphing to match the imagination of the user, provided by the Minecraft alien builder Ludrus. While she thanks Peeny Weenie and sees him off, we also see Momo bidding farewell to Ida and Okarun. Ida's desperate to go home so that she can catch up on sleep. Looking after Gigi and the evil eye for the time that they all lived together was exhausting, after all. As she walks ahead, Okarun tells Momo that he's just happy that the house is back to normal. He tells her that he sees this place as a kind of home himself, and that it wouldn't feel right if it wasn't safe and sound. And he's right. Since Chapter 2, the house has been a hub for the gang. While Momo dragged Okarun there initially just to wait to face Turbo Granny, it's since become a very special place. Every encounter, every battle won and hardship overcome, they've returned to this little spot together to unwind with a meal. These moments are so wholesome and are the pinnacle of everyone just being together, existing in each other's company. The period of living together across the Evil Eye arc was something special. We saw everybody work as one to sever the hold that the oppressive Eye had over Gigi, as well as bind themselves closer emotionally, as friends, and as something more than that. Okarun expresses this to Momo because there's nowhere on earth that he has ever felt so accepted, even if these people are super strange. But more importantly, home is where the heart is, and this place, his home, is where Momo is. Momo's flustered by this, reading the subtext of his words, as she realizes she feels more at home with him too. She agrees with Okarun, highlighting that this is a hangout for so many people now, and they need to keep it safe, telling him that he's welcome anytime, which Okarun accepts, as they both blush. Momo is such a great character, not just because of all of her complexity, but because of what she brings out in other people. She brings out the best in people, helps them to realize who they are and to embrace that. Living together was such an amazing opportunity for everybody to just step out of their own skins. Ida accepted her earnest desire to be stronger and allowed herself to authentically feel connections, unlike the facade that she puts on in every other facet of her life. Gigi started to unlock his latent ability and allowed himself to bond with the Eye as well, and Okarun has rose to the challenges of the Eye to protect his friends and embrace Turbo Granny's powers all the more, as well as starting to walk a new path with Momo. None of these things would have begun without this place, this little slice of the world which has become a home more than a hangout. She thanks them all for staying and shouts that she loves them all, and that they owe them their lives, which Saiko says is a debt that will need to be properly repaid. But for now, it's been a long day, and so she goes to sleep. But don't count Gigi out. After they're recovering in the hospital, the Enjoji family raced the Ayase household with building supplies, looking to also help rebuild the house. And we also get to see how Gigi got to be in such good shape, as he's made to run behind the car rather than right up front with his parents. I'm not really sure why, but damn, this guy can keep up with a car. He is a prodigy, guys. Gigi's mum announces their arrival with an energy that really shows which parent Gigi takes after, only to find out that the house has already been repaired. Momo opens the door and asks them all to be quiet, because Saiko is sleeping collapsed in her room with Turbo Granny, the granny duo. As Gigi and Momo walk to school, he apologizes for the trouble that he's caused. Momo tells him to forget about it, and they talk about the eye. And Gigi lets her know that it's all fine. He even let the eye take over his body a few times, and he stood by his promise to only fight Okarun. Gigi's starting to accept the eye as part of him, not just as this entity of hatred, but as a kid, enjoying himself for the first time in a long, long time. At this point, I think things have kind of settled. After the craziness of the past 2 arcs, all the gang are just much closer and more comfortable with each other. Even Gigi's inner turmoil has become less life or death and become more something for him to master as he trains. But while we have seen that Okarun and Momo are heading towards romance, Gigi's crush on Momo is still strong. As she tells him to come back over to the house if there's any trouble, Gigi blushes. He likes her a lot. Momo telling Gigi to come over is enough to fan the flames of his affections for her. The truth is that there is a subtext that everyone is still trying to figure out. While everybody is comfortable with their friendships, Gigi, Momo, Okarun, and even Ida are still trying to work through figuring out the exact nature of what those friendships should become. While Momo prefers to dance around it and Okarun slowly nudges towards it with demonstrative acts of love, Gigi is a talker, and he likes to be straightforward. He turns to Momo and asks her if she has a crush on anyone, which sends her into meltdown. Momo doesn't really know how to cope with her feelings for Okarun, but at the very least, keeping them inside and not admitting them allows her to live in this charade of plausible deniability about whether she likes him or not. Of course, after everything that they've been through, all the struggles that they have overcome, it's pretty obvious that they like each other a lot deep down. She knows it, but she isn't ready to say it, or to let the world know. It's sort of her and Okarun's secret love at this point, so well hidden that even they don't admit it to themselves. While she can't help feeling how she does, she can ignore it and make excuses for it. When Gigi asks Momo about whether she has a crush, it's kind of obvious what he's asking. He wants to know if she likes him. But she's so caught up in her feelings for Okarun that she doesn't even really give the way that Gigi might feel a second thought. Gigi asking her this, forcing her to contend with her feelings directly, is something that she can't deal with. And so she overcorrects and overreacts massively. In typical Momo fashion, she turns the confusion she feels about her emotions outward by kicking Gigi and badmouthing him. Just like when Momo aggressively turned Okarun away in school after their sort of a kiss, Momo's internal frustrations manifest in these physical actions. Despite seeming like nothing can bother her, there's a secret layer to Momo that she reserves for just herself. Allowing the world to blow past her defenses and learn about her true vulnerabilities and letting the world see her for who she really is simply not an option for her. Fortunately for her and for Gigi, some of the girls from school approach him to see how he's doing. He's been out of school for a while now, and despite his ridiculousness, he is sort of a heartthrob. As he's distracted by the flirting, Momo finds an opportunity to head off. She's still coming down from the flurry of emotions that she had to fight and mumbles to herself in annoyance about Gigi. As one of the girls offers Gigi a sip of her drink, he transforms into the evil eye and immediately tears out her... Hold on. Okay, he's still wearing his clothes, which is strange. Like Gigi said earlier, the evil eye isn't quite so evil these days. Since agreeing to only fight Okarun, he stuck to his word, and now we get to know him a little bit outside of his desire to kill all humanity. While in fairness, his desire to kill is still there, and the world sees him as Gigi, which is pretty hilarious, Momo drags him off, looking like she's getting super close to him, adding fuel to the fire. And now, we see the evil eye for the kid that he is underneath. He slurps his drink and enjoys it. He sees kids playing and races in to join, displaying absolutely no social grace for the other players. Just as a kid would, he hasn't had the opportunity to play or learn the limits to which people play. For someone like him, who sees fighting and playing as the same thing, this is a pretty expected outcome. In life, he was always restricted to being a mere observer. But now he's seeing the world and he's a participant for the first time. As Momo can't get her hands on something hot to turn him back, she just decides to keep an eye on him in class. After all, he's not really causing any harm. It's actually kind of cute to just see this little guy act out as a little boy would. He sits at his desk, slamming his fists about out of boredom, when Momo turns and shushes him, and he listens and he stops being a nuisance. He watches her writing in her notebook and he copies her. Like a child, he's mimicking the people around him, and he starts getting seriously into his drawing, eventually shouting about his desire to murder. Which I think translates to, I'm having fun. In the cafeteria at lunch, he's given the chance to eat, but he can't wrap his head around the idea of chopsticks and launches them across the room, opting to stuff food into his mouth with his hands. That's enough learning for today. Soon after, Momo's hanging out with the best girls, and they allude to something called an apartment complex ghost. One that is in possession of a magical artifact. A golden ball. A new challenger approaches. As Okarun sits in class, he's accosted by Kinta, who declares that he, Okarun, is his enemy. Okarun's shocked, and he looks all around him out of sheer surprise, but he realizes that he was not mistaken. This stranger is talking to him. He's immediately caught off guard, while Kinta goes on to tell him that despite not being interested in men, he must ask him a question. How is it that he became so close with Momo Ayase? Kinta tells Okarun that he's not good looking, and he's weak. Overall, totally Dullsville. But regardless of these facts, Momo Ayase really likes him, as does Aira Shiratori. Kinta demands to know how Okarun does it. What is his method for attracting beautiful women? Okarun immediately responds with denial, telling him that he has it wrong, that Momo and Aira don't find him attractive. And now I see why my guy wears those glasses. He is truly blind. Despite starting out as a total dork, he's managed to draw the attention of Momo and Aira, and not just because he's some self-insert Rizlord. Okarun's honesty, his earnestness in him just being him, oozes authenticity. Despite the cruelty of the circumstances around how he started, he's never lost this sense of self. He endured and has came out the other side a good person still. The world squeezes us all. There's a lot of pain and cruelty and misery, more than enough for all of us. The heat of hardship scalds and tests us. Some shatter beneath it, breaking into bitter pieces. Others dissolve entirely, becoming part of the same mass of cruelty that tormented them. But not Okarun. He didn't break. He didn't dissolve. He endured, tempered by fire into something purer. People like him are a beacon, in truth. Momo saw his value from their first adventure, where he stood up, ready to surrender everything to protect her. And while Aira was first interested in Okarun because of his yokai form, she really started to solidify her feelings properly for him when he saw past her facades. The one that she projects to the world to create this image of perfection, and raised her up due to recognizing her true inner self. It's his ability to see the world so plainly and so clearly that is at the heart of what makes him attractive. Yet, funnily enough, he can't see this himself. Which is why it's no surprise that Momo is ready to cast aside social norms as she bursts into the classroom and announces that she's found his other family jewel, which melts Kinta's mind as he's seeing the Okarun effect with a front row seat. Momo apologizes to Kinta for interrupting and asks if the two of them are friends. He's far too embarrassed to even talk to Momo, but alludes that he could maybe consider himself to be Okarun's friend, from some perspectives. Which brings her immense joy. She loves to see Okarun prosper, just like when she left Gigi and Okarun together while she went to the hot springs to give them space. She tells Kinta that she hopes he and Okarun get along well. She knows that Okarun was lonely when they first met, and she knew he had no friends. But like I said, Momo has this wondrous ability to bring out the best in people. She helped Okarun acknowledge his potential, and now the value she sees in him is starting to be seen by others as well. By meeting Kinta, Momo is provided with an opportunity to cherish the growth that Okarun has undergone since they first met. He's more interesting, and naturally people are more interested in him. But on the flip side of that coin, Momo has to also contend with the possible side effects of this too. As people have started to see Okarun, she also must confront the potential for people to try to push her out of the center of his life. Bursting into Okarun's class to talk to him has put Momo on the class rep, Rin's, radar. Now that people are finally starting to take notice that Okarun exists, they're also starting to see the relationship that Momo has with him. Rin tells Momo that she shouldn't burst into the classroom as people are studying. Momo feels embarrassed but apologizes for her behavior and agrees to stop barging in, asking Okarun to step outside to talk with her further. But Rin isn't finished here. She tells Okarun that he doesn't have to grudgingly obey Momo and that she is ready to stand up for him, since he clearly can't stand up to Momo himself. Momo stops for a second and asks Okarun if this is how he truly feels about the situation, to which he disagrees, quietly. Momo pipes up again and bites back at the class rep, telling her that he said it's not true, and that she should back off. Rin counters and tells her that the only reason he said that is because he's too scared to disagree with Momo. She turns to Okarun and tells him that she's sorry that she didn't notice that he was being bullied up until now, and that he can trust her as class president to help him. Of course, the situational irony here is striking, as Rin failed to see his pain and suffering at the hands of real bullies, yet here she is, incorrectly identifying it with Momo. However, it's within the dramatic irony that things start to get more interesting. Because the idea that Momo is bad for Okarun, let alone bullying him, is so far from reality, and we know that. No one has ever took notice of Okarun until Momo did. She saw him for the first time and stood up for him when nobody else would. It's because of her that he has come into his own. It's because of her that he has started to walk down this path of self-discovery and manhood, a consequence of wanting to be strong enough to protect her, and to be good enough to be with her. He's grown into a better man because of Momo taking the chance and standing up for him against the bullies. From this moment, his life truly began. He fell in love and learned to let himself feel love in return. He let himself be worthy. A worthiness that's changed the very essence of his being and how people see him. All because of her. So the dramatic irony here is clear as day. With this self-righteousness on display in the face of Momo's behavior, we, the audience, know the truth. The truth that this is untrue. Momo cares deeply for this guy, and they've been through so much together, overcome everything, and grown closer together. The affection between them is blossoming into something so deep that it's impossible to conceive of the possibility that Okarun could feel threatened. They're tender toward each other, vulnerable in their actions, and display a desire to be close with each other that's unmatched by anything else in their lives. However, a constant barrier between these two comes from their small, intimate, personal world, the one crafted and curated for just them and them alone, coming up against the crushing reality of the world around them. Just like after their first adventure together, Momo and Okarun's friendship struggled to find its feet because of the outside influence of other people. We saw this in the Not a Kiss incident, where Momo's class made fun of her for being seen kissing this sweet little guy right here. While Momo moved past her embarrassment of the moment, she still has pretty much had him all to herself for a while now, with minimal meddling from other people. Well, except for these two wonderful ladies here. Okarun's upgraded social status has started to attract the attention of other people. The private, intimate world that Momo and Okarun have carved out for themselves is forced against the reality of the greater world around them once more. In a situation reminiscent of when Okarun had to face down Momo's class way back when, yet reversed. Now it's Momo that must stand to claw Okarun away from the social grip of his class. Momo's had him all to herself, and now others are looking to drive a wedge between them, unintentionally or otherwise. She gets jealous, and is hurt by the accusation that Okarun finds her to be a pest. Starting to grow close to someone is so often wrought with the fear that you're an annoyance, or that your attitude and behavior is overbearing. Momo has had these concerns about herself since the first time that they struggled finding each other at school. So seeing Rin suggest that Momo is a problem for him and that she is somehow better suited to looking out for his best interests is something that hurts Momo, and as usual, makes her angry. Momo is the type of person to lash out when she's overwhelmed by feelings that she can't comprehend or cope with. Typically, this also means directing them at Okarun, because he is indirectly the source of all of her frustrations. After all, it's him that causes her to well up all of these confusing emotions inside, so she holds him partially responsible. Momo shouts at Okarun and tells him to speak up for himself and tell Rin that he doesn't view Momo as a problem, despite the fact that he has been trying to do that this whole time, before calling him an idiot. Kinta watches on, shocked at the nature of how he can enrapture these two women to fight after him, pinning it down to dirty jokes, and then he makes his move. 10-gallon wiener. Pure beef. Wang.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Later on, when searching for his missing ball, Momo's still pissed. She's annoyed at the idea that Rin thinks that she knows best, or, more accurately, she's upset at the idea that another girl thinks that they know Okarun better than she does. Okarun lets Momo know that he was trying to say something, he was just struggling to adapt and stand up for Momo because he's never been approached in class for conversation before. The shock of the situation was enough to startle him. He starts to talk about how it made him happy, but Momo cuts him off, telling him that it's to be expected because he's cool now, which surprises him, asking if this is for real. She goes quiet and simply responds with, "Yep." This moment's so interesting. On one hand, this feels like a continuation of that conversation from so long ago. At the end of the Serpo arc, all he wanted was for Momo to see him as a cool guy. This moment really kickstarted their friendship into walking down the path of romance, and just before Momo could say something in response, she was interrupted. This moment we see here is her response, delayed as it is. He wanted her to see him as more than just some dog, and as a man, code for him wanting her to see him as somebody that she could fall for, and now she lets him know, in her way, that she does see him as this. However, the complexity of the artwork, the expression on Momo's face betrays her deeper feelings too. She's a little somber about all of this. It's not just her that can see it now. Everybody knows that Okarun is cool, it's no secret, and so she can't pretend that it's just the two of them in this vacuum any longer. And I think that scares her. She's come to care deeply about him and has pretty much never had to worry about him being dragged away from her. Well, mostly. And now that others can see his worth, it invites competition. It invites the opportunity for people like Rin to capture his interest. The fear of losing him is amplified by her own fears of vulnerability too. Momo is slow to let Okarun in, and it takes time and effort to convince her to let down her emotional barriers. And as more people see his value, who's to say that she won't lose him? Who's to say that he won't change, that he won't move on before she's ready to let him in? There's an awkwardness in the air. A silence. Broken by Okarun saying, "Yay, I did it." Which causes Momo to burst into laughter. Okarun's concerned about her as her sides split in rapturous laughter. The idea that his response to all of this tension and discovery that he's popular is a simple "yay, I did it" is hysterical to her. But it's so much more than just that. It's him. He doesn't know what he's supposed to say, and quite right. He shouldn't be who he's supposed to be. That's never interested her. Okarun has never conformed to social expectations. He's always been unabashedly himself, and Momo loves this about him. When he asks what he's supposed to say, Momo counters it. She tells him to just say that, because that's what suits him. Her insecurities wash away. Okarun responding to this drags Momo out of self-doubt for a moment as she realizes that this guy won't change, and that there's no one else like him. He's just him. He's just Okarun, no matter what. After their moment together, Momo and Okarun continue the search for his missing ball, using Miko's picture to inform them on what to look for. In the picture, the space around the ball is all warped, leading them to worry that some kind of spirit may have taken control of it, just like Turbo Granny had warned. All the while, they're being followed by Kinta, who's still on his quest to discover the power that Okarun wields. And by that, I don't mean his literal supernatural ghost powers, I mean his ability to win over Momo. His current theory is that dirty talk is at the heart of this power, but if this is true, then why can Okarun talk dirty to women while his own offerings are worth 1,000 deaths? This secret, this esoteric art form, is one that he must uncover so that he can make out with true beauties like Momo Ayase. As Kinta investigates, he's discovered by Momo and Okarun, where he tries to play it off as a coincidence that they're going the same way. And then he's lifted into the air and launched towards the pair, hoping that he might just be able to land a kiss on Momo when they collide. Look, Kinta gets a lot of hate, and at this point of the series, guys, look, I get it. He comes across as a bit of a creep, and the only thing he seems to care about is this. I'm not denying that. However, a lot of Dandadan characters start off as seemingly one note and then grow to become favorites, okay? We're going to talk about him a lot more in the video to come. Just bear with me, guys, please, because I once doubted the almighty Kinta once, and then I saw the light. Fortunately, Okarun leaps into action and moves Momo out of the way to protect her, and the two turn around and see it there. The golden ball. They launch themselves at the floating testicle in order to reclaim it, but are repelled by an invisible entity. This is no spectre because it has a body, and it's ready to fight. Okarun asks Momo to be careful. Despite its invisibility, it can still interact with the physical world, and so is a threat. Momo jumps on Okarun's back and the chase is on, with Kinta shouting dirty jokes from the distance after being ordered to watch their bags. As if we need any more reason to highlight the fact that Momo and Okarun are perfect for each other, we start to see this in their fighting style, as they complement each other's abilities so well. Momo uses her spectral hands and Okarun utilizes Turbo Granny's speed, so they are effectively one. We've seen in the past how Momo and Okarun work together so well. When fighting the Earthbound Crab, we see them move like this. The two become greater than the sum of their parts, and here we see it again. Even when hit by the invisible power, they immediately spring into action to protect the other. Their concern is touching, even in the heart of battle. They're so much more comfortable with each other physically now as well, as they chase the Spectre and Momo has an idea. To swing them both down the building using her hands and asks Okarun to hold her tight so that she can carry them both. To which he agrees with very little fanfare, a far cry from when even holding her wrist in battle was such a big moment. Despite it being a good plan, it doesn't work and the two are blasted all the way to the ground floor, with Momo's fall being broken by Okarun. She apologizes and climbs off of him in order to flail around in anger at their enemy cheating by being invisible. Look at her, I love her, she is the best character. They hear Kinta shout and race back up the stairs to help him and manage to catch him in mid-fall, saving his life. He stands up and he tells them that he'll interrogate them on their identities later. For now, he must fight. He races at the enemy with his famous jet stream attack and masterfully dodges at the last second in order to posit a theory. Their enemy must be using high-tech retroreflective projection, and viewing them from 3 angles would render their defensive strategies meaningless. Just like with the earlier plan to leap down the side of the building, Momo opts for recklessness in combat, frequently, going with her gut and her instinct over strategy in order to move quickly before the enemy can think. She jumps and swings around the building and catches the enemy in her spectral hands, allowing Okarun to get serious and go all out, sending the ghost flying outside the building. We see our first glimpse into Kinta's value here too, by explaining the way that optical camouflage works. By projecting the background onto the suit and giving the illusion of invisibility. But it is an ability with a weakness coming from multiple lines of sight at once. And now, Momo and Okarun see their enemy's true form. It's a kaiju? They stare at the creature before them, and Okarun breaks into his cryptid obsession, identifying the beast as a kaiju, a giant monster from Japanese movies. Kinta jumps in to ask about the ball, but repulses Momo and causes her to hit him, which he's into, so that's a thing. With the ball, the kaiju could go invisible, but without it, it lacks power. They go down to investigate, with Kinta again trying to discover the secret of saucy language as a means to win the affection of women. Okarun calls on Momo and they see through the hole that the kaiju is awake, and it's huge. They run away and the sky turns black, which can mean only one thing: space aliens. This kaiju is from outer space. As they run, Momo and Okarun shout back and forth about how to beat it or find a weak spot, but they have no time, and they keep running. Meanwhile, Gigi and Aira meet up and agree to start looking for Momo in order to discover why they were pulled into empty space. But before they can, Momo finds them, screaming at them to run away from the kaiju. Kinta falls over and is barely saved by a combination of Momo and Okarun's powers, as they continue to act as one. Aira jumps in, irritated by the fact that they have to do this in their uniforms again, and the three of them use their powers to keep the fight under control, under the self-appointed leadership of Aira, as Gigi runs to get Kinta away from the fight, agreeing to meet at Momo's house later. The battle rages on, with Momo and Aira struggling to get along and work as a team, opting to throw insults back and forth about leadership. There's a chaotic element to the way that this team performs in battle. They don't really work as a team at all, just kind of a loose collaboration of fighters. Momo and Okarun excluded. Of course, these two are fighting in more than just physicality, they're partners. capable of taking on anything together because of the fact that they trust each other fully. Since their first battle against Turbo Granny and they held hands, they fully trusted each other, bound by this deep understanding that they have each other's backs, causing them to perform symbiotically. This kind of bond hasn't really been perfected between Ida and Momo. There's a friction between them that's just not been resolved. But as they argue, Ida is smashed into a building, with Okarun using his second and final all-out to save her, as Momo saves the day at the last second, as she carries them off to make their getaway. She's even left having to carry both of them home, which leaves her absolutely exhausted. So naturally she's upset when she discovers that Ida has been faking it just so that she can hold on to Okarun for a little bit longer, telling her to give her a step back, causing them to fight and argue once more. When all of a sudden the evil eye strolls up looking for a fight. He was unleashed by Kinta's sweat when Gigi was carrying him, and now he thinks it is a Tuesday, which it isn't, so he can't fight. Or can he? Momo toys around with the idea of asking the evil eye to help them fight the kaiju. However, Okarun says no, because this is just too risky, as their current predicament with the eye is already fragile, so asking him to help may cause more issues later down the line as the eye starts to loosen exactly on what counts as fighting Okarun. In frustration, Momo slams herself against the house, which plants an idea in Okarun's mind. While Ida and Momo prepare to fight the kaiju themselves, because Okarun used his final all-out and in a situation that is likely to end in failure, Okarun stops them, because he has an idea. The nanoskin that they used to rebuild the house. The key to defeating the kaiju. In the house, the gang is together and Okarun lays out his plan as the kaiju approaches from the distance. Okarun tells them that the house is made up almost entirely of nanoskin, and according to Ludrus, nanoskin is made up of high-density nanomachines. Ones which pick up on the user's brain signals in order to take the form of the thing that they visualize. While the evil eye tries to continue picking a fight, Okarun highlights that reshaping the nanoskin could help them to create something big enough to take on the alien monster. But he isn't very good at visualizing, so the house warps and contorts in a confusing way and starts to close in on them. The nanoskin's power is derived from its wielder's ability to imagine, to create, and so Kinta steps onto the scene. He tells Okarun that if they need to visualize something big, then he can do it. Because nanomachines means sci-fi, and sci-fi means Kinta Sakata. He reforms the house dramatically, shifting everybody into separate parts of the building as he reimagines it as a massive entity, a mecha. Well, it should be a mecha, but Momo's haphazard impulse thinking caused it to take the form of a Buddha. It's not ideal, but it's okay for a first time. And regardless of appearances, regardless of how it looks on the outside, on the inside, it has power. And isn't that what Dandadan is all about? Kinta has a pretty bad reputation. He's seen as nothing more than just a perverted annoyance. And when I first met him, I didn't really get him either. But he fits the bill of what someone should be in Dandadan so well. Kinta is analytical, and he's outcast, possibly even more so than Okarun in some ways, or at least just as much. And he has a lot in common with him. Both of them have been pretty lonely for their entire lives, especially due to their inability to connect with people in any serious way. And this is made worse by their fascination with things that aren't traditionally seen as cool. For Okarun, that was the occult, and for Kinta, mechas and Gundams. As a consequence of this, they've been overlooked or pushed around, and so in response to that, allowed themselves to get lost deeper and deeper into their interests. The one place that let them feel powerful and accepted, their imagination. Of course, underneath it all, Okarun is a very empathetic and quite sociable person. He's able to connect with Momo and surprise her by not just being seen by her, but also being able to look back and gaze into her as well. He provides her with the man that exists beneath the veneer of the nerd, one that is passionate and emotionally aware enough to see her too. But Kinta isn't quite that kind of guy. When he approaches the subject of people, he really doesn't actually get it. He lacks the capacity to comprehend their intentions and social graces that exist between people. When we see him complaining about wanting to learn the secret to seeming attractive to women, he doesn't consider Okarun's personality, his earnest charm, his qualitative value to these female friends who love him for who he is. No, he sees him through this analytical lens that he sees the world. He perceives Okarun in a plainly quantitative state, able to list off things that he sees that make his attractiveness a mystery when they first meet. When he speaks to women using dirty terms, he doesn't do it just because he wants to harass them or make them uncomfortable, even though that is the end result. He does it because he genuinely thinks that on some level this must work. It's almost like running an experiment in a way. It worked for Okarun, someone as conventionally unattractive as he is. So surely this secret formula is just something he isn't getting right. Surely that would make him more appealing to women when he cracks the code. The effect is a bit creepy, but he's really just a socially awkward and rather weird teenager, which isn't completely uncommon. We see this from another perspective when he's talking to Gigi. He's unnecessarily hostile to Gigi, calling him a bunch of names. He's jealous, envious of his looks, and he thinks that Gigi must have some secret evil side underneath. Kinta's lack of room for nuance runs deep. It's entrenched in his worldview, the notion that people like Gigi are awful to people like him, Kinta, a dog. Which is why Okarun is such a fascination to him. A lonely existence, to be certain. In lieu of understanding the complexity of emotions woven into the human heart, the human soul, he retreated from that. Into the world of anime, sci-fi, and mecha fiction that allowed that to become his heart instead. His passion, his power. As the team start to fumble around in the giant Buddha mecha, Okarun and Gigi are ejected out of the machine, and the mecha doesn't seem to be doing too well at all. Okarun is about to allow the power of the evil eye to become unleashed, a highly dangerous and volatile prospect, but Kinta figures it out. Of course he did. Robots aren't just a fancy or a fascination, they're his dream. Piloting a mech has always been his dream. And as the robot regenerates, he announces that it's more than that, and that he himself is a robot, and that robots are him. This is the imagination of Kinta, the end of Joy Toy Pegasus Sakata. Let's just go with Kinta. This is his passion. This is his strength. Momo found power in her love for ghosts and for her grandmother. Okarun's power was unlocked by his interest in the occult and tempered by his love for Momo. Ida's passion to be the best is what drives her to lead. It is within our passions that we find our strength. And this strength gives us the power to change our worlds. It lets Kinta be a man. Yes, I said it. Because power isn't just physical. Strength isn't just to be strong, and passion doesn't have to just come from what the world tells us it should be drawn from. Dandadan shows us that societal norms and tradition can be innately harmful and suffocating for the brilliant people who live in a way that doesn't conform with what is expected. This series is littered with examples of the power of youth breaking through conformity for the greater good. The traditional Hayashi band are a new wave metal band. The Tsuchinoko is overcome and the dogma surrounding it rejected by Momo's desire to find a better way, saving Okarun and the town. Even the Serpos being designed to look like businessmen is reflective of a statement on traditionality. As a consequence, Dandadan has given us some truly incredible, powerful and confident female characters, but that's not all. It shows us that men aren't irrelevant either. It just posits a new ideal of what it means to be a man, chiefly in Okarun but also in Gigi and Kinta. Men can be anyone, as long as they have a gentle soul with the desire to help, to stand up for what they believe in, what they care about, and not allowing the world around them to shame them into conformity. Society has a way of forcing us into a mold, of setting us straight by telling us who we should be and who we shouldn't be. Games, fiction, a shonen anime. For Kinta, he was mocked and rejected for liking mechs, toys and models. They tell him that he's too old or too childish. But he's right. What difference does it make? He likes it, and that's enough for him to own it. This social rejection forced him further into his hobbies and interests, because one day he felt that it is within this hobby, this fiction, that he would finally find his purpose, meaning to make it all worth it. And these guys, this bunch of weirdos, they get it. Sound familiar? Spending time with the gang is what unlocks this power. It's through his passion that he finds his strength. A strength that he uses to connect with others, finally, to be himself, not mimicking another. This connection is physically represented too, as he combines his abilities with Momo and Ida, two beautiful women, to overcome the kaiju and to slam it into the ground together. The great Kinta stands victorious over the kaiju as empty space breaks away and the gang return back to the real world. A real world that can see the robot in its entirety. Kinta tells Momo to visualize her house so that they can return back to normal, as the robot disassembles and the Ayase household is restored, with Kinta, Ida and Momo sat at the table as if nothing had ever happened. Until the three of them break down. Momo and Ida run desperately to try to throw up after the nausea caused by the great Kinta robot adventure. Meanwhile, Kinta breaks into tears at the fact that he was finally able to pilot a robot. His dream come true. In the meantime, Gigi and Okarun, both restored to their normal selves, run to the house carrying the body of the kaiju from where the fight had occurred. Okarun tries to temper his expectations by letting him in on the quest to find the golden ball, and how important it is to get it back. Kinta explodes and asserts that the fate of the Earth must be tied to the ball, which Okarun denies. However, Kinta swears to lend his strength in the coming fights. As he argues with Gigi, Okarun investigates the kaiju, making a shocking discovery. There's somebody inside. Okarun says that he'll have a look at it and get to the bottom of this. This is a really cool testament to Okarun's development too. He's grown so much, and he's so much braver than he was at the start. Originally, Okarun was too scared to even walk into the Turbo Granny tunnel, and now here he is putting himself in harm's way so that his friends don't have to. He unzips the kaiju outfit, and he finds somebody inside. A beautiful alien girl. She awakens. As this happens, Momo and Ida recover from the previous fight. It's taken its toll, but Momo hears Okarun and Gigi outside. Hoping to see him as soon as possible, she drags herself to her feet, slides open the door, and she calls for Okarun, asking him if he's okay, her first and only concern, and then she sees it. Her eyes widen. Her heart skips a beat. The alien girl kissing Okarun. After freezing at witnessing this other girl kissing Okarun, Momo leaps into action and throws herself at them, drop-kicking her to get her off of Okarun and kicking him in the face in the process. The emotions that Momo feels, jealousy, fear, envy and longing, are all welled up in one form of outburst. Anger and aggression are famously a vehicle for Momo to vent her frustrations at complex emotional turmoil. Seeing Okarun kissing this girl drives all of the emotions that she buries and ignores to the surface of her mind, causing her to react violently. And as I mentioned earlier, even Okarun, the subject of her love, isn't safe from this kind of outburst. He is the reason that she feels this way. Or rather, the feelings that torture her soul have been brought and created in her by him. As Kinta cries about the alien kissing Okarun rather than him, Momo finally realizes that she is the kaiju. Her concern is squarely focused on why she would kiss Okarun, continuing to threaten her. Even as Kinta and eventually Okarun tell her to relax because it's clear that the alien no longer wants to fight, Momo refuses. She says no way. This girl kissed Okarun, and that's enough for Momo to see no reason. Reason is not the reason for Momo's anger here. All the fighting against the kaiju is forgivable. After all, look at how quickly she accepted Peeny Weeny after the Serpo arc. Yet here we are, and she gives no room for doubt and accepts no reason. At the end of the Evil Eye arc, Momo and Okarun are in such an odd place with each other. They feel so deeply, and it's hardly a secret at this point. But the barrier is still there, something that's holding them back, a false pretense that any of this is just friendship. They hold each other, fight as one, and put each other first always, learning to care about each other and the heart of their journey up until now. From that moment, where Momo thought Okarun had died in the Cursed House arc, the moment that she ran to him thinking of everything he brought into her life, she thought of the face of the boy who had put his life in her hands to let her and trust her to come and save him. Since then, she's known. There's nothing else to learn, but knowing and doing are such different battles. She knows what she has to lose, and she almost lost it before. But allowing herself to fall for him doesn't mean that she knows how to express it, or how to let him in. Momo's vulnerabilities are immense. She's warm and goofy on the outside, but on the inside she is so scared. Scared that letting him in would hurt her. That accepting that she wants to be with him would mean losing him. After all, she has helped so much. She saw him when nobody else had. She brought with her friendship and the possibility of a better life, but how could she know what he would bring into her life too? And now the world can see him. Just like with Rin and Ida, Momo is so scared that she may lose him to somebody else, as the walls of their little world, where he is just hers, start to crumble away. And she hasn't got the guts to really let him in, instead opting to take steps towards him without having to tell him expressly that she likes him. Just like with the silly little notion that she holds his hand because she's cold, Momo moves slowly, glacially even. But without ever telling him how she feels, as other girls start to recognize him, how can she know that he's gonna wait around forever? So seeing Vamola kissing him is the epitome of all these feelings encapsulated in this singular moment in time. She rejects it, fights her, fights Vamola as if she's fighting the clutches of the world from clamping shut around the boy that she's come to love, and is so scared that she may lose. So when Okarun tells Momo to stop, she turns this rage towards him, telling him that he only wants to trust her because she kissed him. A slight declaration of her interest in Okarun, yet also an accusation that he is only interested in her because he likes her. An accusation that she weaponizes to confirm her fears that he doesn't feel as deep a love for her as she does for him. She continues to press him, as if to want to confirm all of these things, and Okarun says that Vamola is pretty, which shook him up. She reaches a point where she shouts about how she hates this, and she storms out, telling him to do whatever he likes. It's not about this alien girl, it's about Momo. Forcing Okarun to admit to what she suspects serves as a test in a way. An unfair one, perhaps, but it does let her feel like she's getting answers about whether Okarun actually loves her or not, which provides some certainty in itself. If she doesn't want another girl to kiss Okarun instead of her, then just kiss! Okarun has come so far since chapter 1, and this is his test. Meeting Momo changed his life, and it turned him into somebody that people are clamoring to see and defend. He's fallen in love with her, but how true is that love in the face of everything that he thought he ever wanted? Okarun has always looked to the sky, to the stars for acceptance. A group of people unlike any on Earth who would accept him and see him and embrace him. And here we have it, a beautiful alien girl from the stars, born from the occult, the center of his interests, literally throwing herself at him. She refuses to separate herself from Okarun as he takes her to Peeny Weeny to learn about what it is that she wants, and why she did what she did. After translating her speech, in hilarious form, the truth is uncovered, that this girl, Vamola, sought the most powerful man that she could so that she could marry him. And she sees Okarun as that man. Here she is. Everything that this little dork ever thought that he wanted, throwing herself at him. But is he still that dork? Did he truly change and grow? Is his love for Momo true? Or would any beautiful girl giving him a chance have been enough? This is his test. Is Okarun truly in love with Momo Ayase, or is he just pretending? Because being with Momo is the harder path. It will take time, and he doesn't even know that she likes him. Whereas Vamola clearly does. She's right there in front of him, telling him that she wants to marry him. It's up to Okarun to prove that his love is born from something more than just fleeting fancy, and that he is ready to truly accept that he is somebody else, someone new, a different kind of man. Back at the house, we get our post-arc dinner. Everyone's pretty much at everybody's throat over the fact that they're breaking bread with the enemy. It's always wonderful to see the team just getting to goof around at the end of a wild ride, and it gives us a really interesting insight into where all the character relationships are. Ida is super unaccepting of Vamola, which is mostly just how she mixes with aliens. She's the handpicked savior of the world due to her cuteness to the max after all. Okarun and Kinta try to defend Vamola, telling the gang that once the translator is sorted out, then the squad will be able to clear up this misunderstanding. But Momo's not having it. While she's cooled down from earlier, she still doesn't trust Vamola, not for a second. Okarun tells her that this misunderstanding isn't from their end, but rather from Vamola's end, because she was fighting to find a husband, and he tells her that she thinks that Okarun, as the one who beat her, is that man. Momo and Ida explode on the spot, terrified by their newfound competition. They burst out and tell her that Ida and Momo are actually the ones that defeated her, not Okarun, who she has no right to marry. But Vamola doesn't speak their language, so it's pointless because they can't communicate. While Kinta tries to worm his way into being the one that she has to marry, no one will buy it, and the arguments ensue. Some things just never change. Meanwhile, Vamola is pretty attached to Okarun, tugging at his shoulder to ask if she can eat some of the takoyaki. He helps her and serves it to her, and wonders about all the amazing things that he can learn from her. His fascination with the occult remains strong. It's part of his charm, and it's also never something that he gave up on. And Vamola is just an opportunity for him to learn more as well. So naturally he's quite interested. An interest that Momo catches wind of. She furiously eats the takoyaki, staring down Okarun from across the table. He inquires as to why she's eating so much, and Momo asks him if that's all that he has to say. The most difficult times in their budding relationship comes from the dissonance between them. The perfect storm of their romantic limitations are on show here, a microcosm of their dynamic in full view. Momo just wants Okarun to know what's wrong and take the necessary steps to reach out to her, whereas Okarun plays dumb and doesn't do what it takes to connect with Momo, mainly out of fear that he's overstepping the boundaries of what their relationship is. Where we once saw Okarun crumble in the face of a challenge in the form of Gigi and nearly give up, we see Momo in a similar spot. She isn't the kind of girl to give up her man without a fight. She hups and stomps over to their side of the table and humps up close to Okarun, turning a "nyeh" at Vamola, who thinks that this must be some kind of greeting. Okarun is in the middle of these two girls, figuratively and literally. He is in between them, as he's forced to figure out which of these two represent the future that he wants. As Momo aches and blames Okarun for making her eat too much, they discuss the golden ball and come to the conclusion that it was not his family jewel. Momo acts like it's not just jealousy that motivates her, and that she doesn't trust Vamola, and tells Okarun to not let his guard down just because she kissed him, and goes back to being upset with him. In his own way, Okarun tries to reassure her that he isn't interested in Vamola, and we see that Momo's distrust is born of insecurity. It's not just distrust at Vamola, but distrust that Okarun likes her as much as she really wants him to, and is scared that he might be falling for this alien girl. As usual, like with the hugging and the hand-holding, and even the longing looks or gentle blushes, their bodies betray their feelings and expose them to each other. They want to hold each other, and when they tussle and wrestle here on the pretense of just seeing his face, it's just an excuse to feel the physical reassurance of the closeness of their bond. Both of these two have found a new barrier in their path towards each other. For Momo, she needs to learn to trust in Okarun's feelings and find some reassurance that he feels for her how she does for him, and to just come out and be honest about how she feels about him. For Okarun, he needs to decide the kind of man that he is. Is he ready to step up and risk it all for Momo? Is his love enough to defy his past and define his future? Both of these two need to learn to trust each other now, more than ever, because of what's coming. As Gigi jumps into Vamola's suit and activates it, we see what lies across the horizon. Monsters, conquerors, the Cur, and they're on their way.